Good afternoon, everyone. James Hicks here from Hicks New Media. Welcome to another episode of the Digital Collective, where we talk enterprise technology with entrepreneurs, with people making a difference within technology. Today, we got a great session today. I got Oliver Wellington with me today. Oliver is a serial entrepreneur, right? He's been in both the business and the technical side of entrepreneurship and technology for a very long time. I've actually been familiar with Oliver's work for over a decade when he and his co-founder created a platform called nRelate, right? And that was really a content recommendation engine that was used by publishers and bloggers worldwide. I was one of the early adopters and early users of that. And I'm also an early adopter, an early user of the platforms that we're going to talk about today. Now he and his crew and his team are talking and working on changing the game, right, in terms of how content creators create and distribute both their audio and their video content. So sit back. If you got questions, please put a Q in front of it so we can bubble those to the top. But let me go ahead and welcome to the stage Mr. Oliver Wellington. How are you, sir?
Hey, James. Great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for accepting the invite to come and have this conversation. Look, I've been wanting to have this conversation for a long time, right? Because I'm a fanboy. I use your platform every day like it's nobody's business, and it resonates with, again, kind of as I was saying before we went live here, the content creator ecosystem, and it resonates in terms of being able to minimize keystrokes, minimize workflow, and actually do a lot of things
Mhm.
that we need on a daily basis and do them automatically. So before we
Mhm.
go into that, tell the folks, I'm going to have you do the elevator pitch and tell the folks who Oliver Wellington is and what you do at Headliner.
Sure. So I'm co-founder at Headliner. I'm like basically at a startup. When a startup comes out, I'll be probably one of the only people that can't code. Everyone else will be technical. Um, I don't really code, but I do all the other kind of tasks that need to get done when you're launching a product. And so I really enjoy um, wearing multiple hats and doing all the little things you have to do to get people excited and behind your startup and in your company. And so, like you were mentioning, James, Neil, my co-founder, and I, we started a company in 2009 called nRelate. We worked with bloggers and then larger online publishers, helping them recommend content on their pages. And then after leaving there in 2015, I saw a very similar space community. Basically, I looked at um, bloggers and podcasters, and I thought, podcasters in 2015 are a lot like bloggers were in 2008, 2009, in that they have a lot of great content out there, but they don't necessarily have mature tools to help them promote what they're doing. And so we got into the space of podcasting. Started out with an app, social audio app that we did for a couple years. But in doing the app, we found that creating promotional videos from the podcast was something that everyone really wanted to do, and we built Headliner, and it's kind of been just like a pretty fun ride ever since.
So what's interesting about that is you were part of the social audio movement before it was popular, before we started
Yeah.
getting into some of the other. So talk a little bit about, how you saw that coming from Interrelay, because again, I was part of the platform as well and utilized that and found great utility and value in that. But how did you move from something like that into, again, creating the other platforms that you worked on?
Yeah, so I'd say like with social audio, it's funny because we just did it too early,
Yeah.
with Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces. Like if we had done it a year, 2, 3 years later, or if we had just said, "Hey, we're going to stick with this for 6 years," which eventually it would have all made sense, but it was a little early. But in general, it's kind of like so. Before I was in startups, between college and then doing startups, I was in a rock band, and I would kind of do book tours and kind of help us get do online promotion and stuff like that. And so I got really interested in the idea of, instead of looking at people like customers or users, looking at them more like from the perspective of different user communities, so different communities of people. And so the reason we kind of, it really was just looking at, bloggers as a blogging community and watching how that evolved and changed over the time we were there. But then, looking at podcasters and being like, hey, there's this whole world of podcasting and this whole community of podcasters. And I remember thinking, and Neil and I talked about this when we were kind of like deciding if we wanted to do another company and all that stuff. And I was like, like, I was kind of like, if we work with podcasters, I feel like it's as if we got in with bloggers years before we actually did. Like it's that much earlier still. And so I was like, and what would we do? And so the main thing we kind of identified in the beginning was that the biggest issue for promoting a podcast is the fact that creating a podcast is really hard, just
Mm,
technically.
true.
And
Talk
so
on
we
that. That's
created an
true. Yeah.
app. Yeah. I mean, you've got this live streaming in all these places. I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't even know where to begin, and you've got it all figured out. And I'm sure it wasn't like you just woke up one day and you're like, "Oh, it all makes sense." It probably took a long time to figure out all the stuff you figured out. And so, most people that want to try stuff like that, people in general will try something, but then they might not stick with it. But we wanted to give them tools to help them try something in a way that they could stick with it. So we created an app, SpareMin, that allowed people to just connect for short conversations up to 5 minutes long that they can record and share out.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like a podcast. It's more like social audio, I'd say, but it kind of gets people. The idea was to give people that were interested in podcasting or even were podcasting but didn't have enough time to kind of do all that they wanted, an outlet and a way to do that without putting in tons and tons of effort. And so that was kind of the way we got into the space of podcasting in general. Was just around knowing that it's a really great community. I mean, I think what Neil would say um, would be Neil's kind of thing is like he's always been really interested in the idea that there's mainstream media content out there
Mm,
in any format, but then there's also a lot of really great content that's not mainstream, right? And you can try searching on Google and this and that, but it's not easy to find,
true.
in a lot of
True.
cases. And so he, our last company and this company too is this idea, I think, from his perspective. And but basically, it's like, hey, there's a lot of great content out there. Let's try to help people discover it.
I, I
And
love that.
if they need to create it, let's help them create it. you know.
You
And so
mean,
that's kind of the core. I think that's one of the core interests that drives Neil and I for the companies, and kind
yeah.
of is how we ended up where we're at.
I mean, I love that piece because I think you guys got it early, right? And realized that
Hmm.
the solopreneur, the entrepreneur, the content creator is it, right? We are the ones winning. And I'm just going to say that to be truthful, because as opposed to the mainstream medium, things of that, we're the ones that are really reaching out, building communities, sharing stories, um, putting on professional presentations and professional environments, things like that. We really are the hot thing that's out there right now. And you saw that early and wanted to be part of that and build a lot of frameworks, a lot of platforms around that. And listen, speaking of content creators that are out here winning, shouts out, we got Mr. Monty Weaver here in the building. So glad you are here, sir. And I see that he said he signed up for the platform a couple of weeks ago. And if he did it, then folks follow his lead because Monty Weaver knows what he's doing. Uh, talk a little bit about the platform in and of itself, because I talk about Headliner in a lot of Facebook groups and a lot of discussions that I have with other content creators as well in terms of automating workflows. Right, you create a show, you create a stream, you create an experience for someone, and then after that, it's really that distribution of that. It's that creating micro content capability as well. So it's and as I was saying, kind of in the intro, it's not just audio. It's the video content as well. So man, you got both sides covered. Talk to us at a high level about the use case for what Headliner Video is.
Sure. So I mean, Headliner high level helps you take, talking from the podcast side first, it helps take your podcast and turn it into the formats necessary to make it visible and discoverable online. And so it can be taken into small, basically if you list any social platform, it can be made into short videos for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere, right? Or you can
Mm-hmm.
actually do the entire episode to get up on YouTube, which, surprise, surprise, happens to be one of the main places that podcasts are listened to. Which I think a lot of podcasters are maybe not happy about in a lot of ways, but with 2 billion monthly active users on YouTube, um, there's just a lot of content consumption going
You
on
can't
there.
ignore
So
that, right? I mean,
yeah,
there
you
used to be
can't
an
ignore
old
it.
ESPN show, Numbers Don't Lie. You can't ignore
Yeah,
that number right there, right? Google is the biggest search engine. Who owns Google? And who's part of the same company? YouTube, right? So those two, I
yeah.
mean, they are interchangeable, and we consume more content off of YouTube versus off of the TV that's behind me right here, right? So folks need to take advantage of that and listen to that with both ears open. So go ahead, man. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so Headliner basically helps you get your content, your podcast content distributed out to all the social channels so that it can be discovered. Right, like right now, the internet isn't really set up for audio content. It's just not.
Mm.
It's a visual, text-based medium. So we basically make sure that your audio is placed in a visual format so that people can discover it. The other side of Headliner is just short video. You can create short and caption short videos as well. So we basically just make it super easy for the non video trained person to quickly and easily create videos for their social accounts.
So, I mean, folks, listen to what Oliver's saying. So again, this is not just audiograms, right? A lot of times we think about repurposing and creating micro content and just having the waveform and having a couple of words across a 2-minute clip or something of that nature. With Headliner, you can literally take that whole 30, 45 minute, 60-minute session, the audio and the video, repurpose that and put that on all the other platforms that you're involved with and where your community is as well. So I really wanted to highlight that, and that's why I stopped specifically on the screen right here, just to show waveforms, full episodes, unlimited videos. And there's this little thing that you snuck in here, the transcription piece, right? Folks are paying, look, people within the content creator ecosystem are paying hundreds of dollars on a monthly basis just for that piece right there, for the transcription piece. And you've got that rolled into the platform, and it's pretty decent. Let me tell you, I've brought it through a lot of files, a lot of audio and video files, and the transcription is clean with Headliner in terms of it being able to pick up different accents, different dialects, and things of that nature. So I mean, just by having that piece in as well, now we start talking about eliminating excess within our workflows for content creators, right? So really having just that core set of tools that we utilize on a day-to-day basis, because creating a show, the pre, the intro, and the post, there's so much that goes on in that. I just want folks to really start thinking about utilizing valuable tools and robust tools that do all of these things. And I like the tagline to it. It's only a few of Headliner's best features, but it's for the pretty darn best ones out there. The transcription piece, audio forms, waveforms, full episodes, and then unlimited video. So I really wanted to just touch on that piece right there, because I'm impressed just by the fact, especially of just having transcription integrated within the platform in and of itself.
Yeah, and another cool thing that we added is pretty recently is it's for the pro accounts are up, but if you go to your in the project tab, you can see all of your podcast episodes, and you can actually click download, and it'll give you a full transcript for your episodes, and you can take that with you wherever you need to go. So you actually have to go to if you click on your actual podcast on the left. Let me see. Yeah, down there, and then you go over on the right there, and you hover over. You should see. Let me see. Is it not showing up? Let me see, and just hover on an episode and click. And let's see, is that going to come? Yeah, there it is.
Transcript.
So, download. Yeah. We like to right now. We hide all our best features.
I was going to say, but see, I've never seen it. Right.
Hide them all. Yeah.
That's why you're on the show right now, man, to break down some of these things and make it plain for folks like me in the back of the room. So hold on. I can actually, so I can download that transcript. So think about this, folks, as we upload to YouTube as well, and we're talking about bringing in closed captions, things of that. So I can download this transcript file from Headliner. We
Hmm.
upload that into YouTube as well, and have a much more cleaner transcription of my stream. That's cool.
Yep, you can do that. You can also download it as a text file and
Yeah.
put it on your website like a blog post for SEO purposes. The transcripts is great. Just there's a lot of great uses for transcripts. And so yeah, we thought like, hey, we have the full transcript. Let's make it available. So yeah, so that's kind of a new thing we added somewhat recently.
All right. Yeah, that being hidden like that. I mean, look, I didn't know it was there, but now we know. So folks, now you know. So
Yeah.
definitely get that headline. And is that, you said that's only with the pro and above, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay.
yeah, transcription wise, like we have a mix of different transcript. Like we're not like a transcription company in the same sense of like Google or these other companies, but we've kind of like built on top of a few different transcription providers to kind of find, um, what we think is the best kind of all of them to get to the transcript that we think works. I mean, the other thing is like we have to have transcription working across. Um, there's so many different languages and dialects, so we have
Yes.
to make sure we've got the things covered because there are people all over the world now using Headliner.
Love that. Love that. Let me ask this, and then we'll go into some of the other avenues of the Headliner as a company as well. But the fact that there is a mobile app as well, and talk a little bit
Hmm.
about the use case and why the mobile app matters. I mean, I use it on a regular basis, but what can you do? Tell folks what they can do with the mobile app, not just on the web page.
Sure. So yeah, the mobile app is basically built to either create audiograms through the audiogram wizard, or you can do automations on there. But what's kind of cool, and one of the main reasons we actually first launched it is because a lot of people were saying like, "Hey, it's just easier for me to share to my social accounts from my phone."
Yep.
And so any video you make on Headliner will then show up in the mobile app too, just to make it a little easier to share on across your socials. So that's kind of like some of the main things that people are using the mobile app for, as far as I know. Um,
No,
but yeah, it's been
I
it's been
mean,
the mobile app's been a funny thing in that we built it. It's one of the fastest things we ever built in the history of anything we've ever built. And it like we released it and we were like, oh, I don't know if people are gonna like it, and it ended up becoming very popular. And it just goes to show you out there, if you're building a company, like just build your stuff and put it out there. Don't worry too much, because if we were worried about the mobile app, we never would have released it, because we did that one in like, I don't know, it was like a week or two.
that's crazy.
And but it all worked, and obviously it wasn't perfect, and we fixed it. But like just getting it live immediately, people were like, "Thank you, we love this," and it was like, "Oh wow, people really did want the mobile app."
Yeah,
Whereas we were kind of like sitting in meetings being unsure.
so it's a good way of saying you got out of your own way and kind of listen to the community in terms of what the community was looking for, because it literally
Yeah,
saves uh, hours out of it. At least and I can only speak for myself. Hours out of my workflow by again, I can do from a post production perspective, do what I need to do within Headliner, or have the automations work through the projects, have that pushed down to my mobile device, and then resize for all the different platforms, for Instagram, for LinkedIn, for TikTok, whatever the case may be, and I can do that remotely anywhere. So that's huge in terms of a time saver. Let's talk about what else you got going on, because you and the team don't sleep much. You guys got a lot of irons in the fire, and a lot of different aspects.
mhm.
Headliner may be again the name of the company, and kind of the marquee product, but where do you want to go next? Because we've got them up both here, and let's talk about the other aspects of the company itself as well.
Sure. Let's talk about. I see Disco up there next.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about our previous company was a content recommendation company for publishers, where we were recommending blog content or article content um, on the page. And so we kind of realized that we could do the same thing, but for audio. So in this case, Disco works like this. So if you're on a content page reading about something, you'll actually see recommended articles within that page. And so it basically allows your readers to preview clips from your podcast and then go and subscribe or check out the full episode right from the page, which for right now, and especially for publishing, it's a great thing because there's a lot of publishers that are great at um, doing audio content, and they're great at publishing written content that people find. But I think a lot of publishers want more listeners to their podcast, especially publishers that started out in more traditional written content, but then now we're getting into audio. This has been like a helpful tool to help them get it in front of their readers.
So talk to us a little bit about spinning this environment up. And I know I apologize. I'm gonna say it to you on air right here. I apologize for not putting it up on my site as of yet. I was such a pain in the tail, I know, to get it going, and then you turned it around and got it going, and then next thing you know, life started happening. But talk to us about the implementation
Yeah.
piece, how folks can actually sign up and get this going on their blog or on their website, whatever the case may be. But because there's incredible value of, again, having this content directly embedded, and then the automation side, right?
Hmm.
What are the day two types of things that I, as a content creator, have to do, or is it just set it, forget it, and it goes out and grabs the information?
Yeah. So it's set. First off, it's set it and forget it. It's basically about the whole thing is adding some JavaScript or HTML. There's a few ways to implement it. Basically, you put a little bit of code on your page, and then the headliner disco widget will show up across your article pages. And the one thing I will mention is it needs like a written article content and a title. Like it won't work on just like any random page on the internet because it needs to read through the text and then figure out which clips to match it up with from your podcast. So basically the content creator, the person that owns the site, has their site, and then they ask they basically just say, hey, these are my podcasts that I want to get in front of my readers. And then from there, Disco basically does the rest. It goes through and it looks, so when you're looking at now, it kind of looks like a video, but that's actually not a video. It looks like one, but it's not. It's a kind of generated to look like a visual representation of audio that resembles an audiogram, and I guess it is. But what's actually happening is we have tech that goes through. Say you have a 1 hour podcast, it'll go through and it'll find 10, 20, 30, 40 clips that it
Mm.
thinks will do well with your readers, and then it'll cycle through those clips, and the widget on the front end will then see which clips perform the best and then pick a winner, and then eventually it kind of gets down to like, here's the clip that's going to perform the best in front of your readers. So then it does that for every episode, and then it starts matching in different clips from different podcast episodes, changing based on the person who's kind of going between the pages and all that stuff, so that it you kind of have this case where it's kind of optimizing for what can I put in front of this reader to get them to click through and check out your podcast, and all that happens completely automatically.
So, in theory, the embedded disco piece on my site could be different Monday versus Wednesday, because AI engine, and I'm gonna call it an AI
Hmm.
engine, is going out there and reading and seeing what's most relevant on the site, versus if I did a podcast stream that's more closely related to that content, it would automatically update that widget on that particular blog post.
Exactly. And right
Dude, that's
now it's
cool.
actually, yeah, and it's a little skewed towards recency. So it's almost like if you publish a new episode, a podcast episode, we're going to read that on the back end, and it's going to chop it up into audio clips and then make the little unit that you see on the page there, and it'll put that out to a group of, a good size of the audience to see if there's any clips in that new episode that'll perform well. And then it'll show up. So exactly, the more you publish, it'll keep updating as you add content to your
So
podcast.
it learns. It's okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to us about availability, right? So I know that's still being currently fully fleshed out, fully built within your team as well. But again, I look at a couple of folks that I know that are in the comments right now who have a decent size following and decent size
Hmm.
community, very, very, very large from that perspective, could definitely take advantage of this. How do they go about getting something like Disco spun up and within their environments?
Sure. So right now when you go on this website, this all goes to Dash on our team, and he basically works with them. he's gotten it live on it's a live on Sports Illustrated, for example, right now. So he's working with larger publishers, but anyone that's kind of got a blog or isn't like a big media company, but has a following and has blog content, they could just shoot me a note, Oliver at headliner.app, and I'm kind of working with people um, to get it live across more kind of niche sites, I guess was the right term.
Awesome. I will not be as negligent anymore. And I would tell you what, I'm gonna say it live in 24 hours. In less than 24 hours, I will make sure that it's up on hicksnewmedia.com. So so I don't.
Love it.
There it is, folks. Right, I'm putting myself out there. Watch, I forget or something. Golly, that's cool, man. That's cool. I love.
Give yourself 72. 72.
No, because it's already been that long, right? I'm looking at the email that you sent me with the code, and I don't want to say when that was sent and why it's not up yet, but
It was just right before lunch today.
you're too kind, brother. You're too kind. That's cool. I mean, just the fact that again that's auto generating, the fact that learns and I'm gonna say it gets smarter, right? As you again continue to produce content, because that's what we do. And as long as it's quality content, as long as it's relevant content, this algorithm will work in the background and position the right information to your audience. So that's huge, and from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Backstage is another
Mm-hmm.
another iron in the fire that you got. You again, you guys just don't seem to sleep over there in Nashville and New York. So talk to us a little bit about what Backstage is.
So Backstage is a product that is kind of our solution for social audio. So for Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces. So basically, you sign up here. It allows you to record your Clubhouse rooms or your Twitter Space, and then from that recording, it takes the same technology that we use to um, find interesting clips from your podcast, and it applies it to the recording from the room. And so basically, it'll look. And what's kind of cool is Backstage has speaker separation, so it'll figure out who talked when, and it'll kind of show you clips at the end of all the different speakers and the moments that our code found interesting or thought would be interesting.
Wow.
So it kind of allows you to take to get a little bit more out of these rooms, because traditionally it's only been like a year, but
Yeah.
when Clubhouse first came out, recording was kind of frowned upon, but still people were doing it. But it's still like, if you're doing a live conversation on one of these social platforms, like, it's a lot of content to sift
Yeah.
through after the fact if you want to. And it's also like, what are you going to do? You want to share some of the great moments out there. And so this kind of allows you to do that. It allows you to take your recordings and then create, like you're saying, this micro content that you can use to promote your room and let people know about the next one, and drive them there. And it's all kind of running on the same core technology around content discovery, and clip detection.
Okay. Now let me ask about this piece from a usability perspective. Is it only from rooms where I host, or is it also from rooms that I attend? Right? Can I
It's kind
record
of
someone else's room?
right now. It can be used to record whatever you want,
Okay.
basically. So you could technically record someone else's room. Sorry, one second. But it's really about, like, people should follow the guidelines on the platform they're on, and also make sure it's like what the person with the room wants. And we're kind of not, we're not saying,
You're not
we're
policing
not
it.
encouraging anyone to go break the
Right.
rules or upset anyone. But
Yeah.
technically speaking, yeah, you could do whatever you want with it
And,
right
and,
now.
and the reason I asked that is I didn't share it, but I recorded the early on Clubhouse room of Elon Musk and the
Oh wow.
Robinhood founder, right, during all of that debacle. And I said, man, this is going to be
Mm.
some golden content right here. But uh, my conscience got the best of me, and I decided to delete that and not share that. But again, there are folks that are probably going to do that, right? When you've got
Hmm.
influencers, when you've got celebrities, when you got folks in a room that you're participating with, and you want to hold that and probably chop that up and put that on. Put your spin and your context around it on your particular side. Just asking that question: if again I can be in Oliver's room on Clubhouse, record the
Hmm.
conversation with whomever it may be, and then put turn that into a blog post, things of that nature. So that's good that at least you
Hmm.
have that ability, but then use common sense, folks, and don't get into trouble by copying something that you probably shouldn't be copying. So awesome, man. So folks, you see, I've got my link going over here at the top, right? I've actually got a referral link that'll give folks 2 free weeks of Headliner Pro if you use my link there, jameshicks.link/headliner. Just from a functionality perspective, I can't say anything but positive stuff about it because it does what it does and it just continues to evolve. The fact that you have the ability to create multiple templates. So I've got 4 or 5 different focus streams, and I can create those templates within Headliner and have the audio, have the video, and have animation and things like that put into the environment. Again, takes so many steps out of the workflow. What's next? All right. What do you guys, what's cooking that you can probably share from a public perspective, and either of the projects, Disco, Headliner, Proper, or Backstage?
Sure. So one thing that is in the product now, as of like yesterday, and kind of being tested, is we're going to start taking clips of podcasts from our from the paid users. So the people that are paying to use Headliner, we'll take those clips and it'll start showing up within Headliner when people, there's certain points in the app where you're exporting videos, for example, and you just have to kind of wait there. So we're starting to show, here are some interesting clips from podcasts you might like, and actually recommending those clips within Headliner to people. Also, we're starting to build a network of sites outside of Headliner where these clips can also show up. So basically allowing people to get discovered, their podcast to get discovered across websites on the internet. Um, and so that's kind of something that will be, you kind of will see in Headliner when you're exporting, there's a little survey link that'll pop up. But if you fill that out, we're kind of going through people that fill that out and then taking their podcast and just putting them into that ecosystem. With the main idea being like, hey, like Headliner helps you make these videos and help you get discovered on social. But what if Headliner could help you actually get listeners from a network we've created? And so that's one of the main things we're working on right now.
Okay, I love that, and that kind of brings up another question that I have. Just again from a creator's mindset, a monetization play is something like that. I mean, within the discussion as well, somewhere where I don't know if you kind of serve as the clearinghouse or you serve as kind of the one who helped put us in front of other folks. Is there a monetization type of conversation about putting our content on other people's feeds or putting their information within our feed? Has that been discussed or considered?
Yeah, I mean, basically the idea would be eventually, if we have this, once we have this larger network of publisher sites where certain units are in the Disco widget are available, basically it's almost like an ad network, and you could pay to
Mm-hmm.
promote your podcast across this network, and get listens. Or if you're hosting the widget and you have enough traffic, you basically get a rev share. You get paid when people click off your site to go to one of these sponsored units.
Hey, look, I know someone who'd like to be part of the beta test or the early adopter. I'm gonna put my name in the hat right now. But no, that's good stuff, man. Because again, I think just the possibilities are kind of endless, right? When you start thinking about what creators can be doing and how we like to evolve, and folks of us that have bought into the ecosystem want to continue to utilize it. So Oliver, man, that's what I had, man. I just wanted you to come on, share the story, and really give folks kind of that differentiation piece of you're not just doing one thing, you're doing so many other different things all rolled
Mm-hmm.
into one very nicely tied up package at a rate that, yeah, you might, yeah, you can raise the price, man. Look, there's value in what we get. There really is, and I'm gonna say that out publicly. There's value in what we get, and people will pay attention to what they pay for. And I
Mm-hmm.
think something like Headliner and Backstage and Disco and whatever else comes next, uh, just in the price versus the cost conversation, right? In terms of time spent, this really does
Mhm.
it allows me to sleep once in a while at night and just know that, again, I'm able to put out a piece of content and I'm able to share it out where I want to share it out without having to remember how to code in HTML, remember how to fire up old Dreamweaver or something. I know I'm dating myself now when I start mentioning some of these old platforms, but that being said, man, you're doing good work, and we appreciate you. I appreciate you as well. Where can people find you, particular, in case they have any questions about you and what you guys are doing?
Sure. I mean, you can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at O Wellington, OHWELLINGTON, or shoot me an email, Oliver@headliner.app. That's Oliver@headliner.app.
Awesome, awesome. I will put all of the relevant links, folks, in the description as well, because again, we are streaming on multiple platforms. But I'll make sure that folks have that information. But outside of that, Oliver, man, look, I appreciate you for the time. Appreciate you for the work and what you guys are doing. Uh, like I say, give Neil a hello for me and wish him well as well. But man, thanks again for everything that you do, and have a great weekend.
Cool. Thanks a lot, James.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
be good.